welcome back, or welcome here for the first time. Either way, welcome. I am Vanessa Shipley, and I am the face behind Shipley Made, where I am all about family consumer sciences teachers. It's more specifically, right now, I am focusing on classroom management and trying to help family consumer science teachers get to that next level and have great classroom management so that your life is easier in the classroom. So, before we begin, I want you to put any questions that you have down below for me in the chat, and then I will get to those. Also, if you have not had a chance to download the 7 secrets to be an amazing family consumer sciences teacher, I will post that down in the comments below after I get done here. So you can go ahead and make sure you grab that. That's a very good resource to have. Let's see here. All right, I think we are ready to get started. So today we're going to talk about routines and procedures, things that happen in your classroom. I'm interested in knowing what are some of your guys' routines, procedures that you guys love. That's something that you love, that your students come in and they do it and you don't have to ask them to do it, and it's just makes your atmosphere, makes your class run just a little bit smoother. What I'm going to talk about today is just several different things, and I'm going to give you some tips, some things that I did when I was in school, and hopefully that kind of helps out. So the first thing I want to talk about is bell work. When I first started, I felt like bell work was like the dreaded, why are we giving them one question every time they come in? But, the older I got, the more I got to realize that I got to realizing that it kind of brought them in, and it made them, it was a kind of a tool to get them to start thinking. It also was a great routine because if I was helping somebody, they could come in and sit down and get right to work. They weren't asking me questions because they had something to do. And so then I could help this student and then get to that class. So it really worked out well once I kind of got it established and got the routine established, and a lot of the kids got to where they sat down and they knew they had to do it. So even when they were gone, they knew they had to get the question from somebody else so that they could have those points. All right, next up, how do you guys turn in papers? Is it mass chaos, or is it, very organized? What's the routine that you have for turning in papers? And I'm sure you guys have great routines. I'm just trying to get you guys to think outside the box and maybe add a few more tips, tricks kind of thing that will help you run a little smoother, I guess. So, turning in papers, do you grab them all the time, or do you have students grab them? Maybe you have a tray and you turn them in. You have them turn them in at the tray with a specific class, and that is a lot of times what I did. Towards the end of my teaching, I honestly got to where I had group tables, and so they would just smush them into one pile in a group, and either I would have a student pick all of them up, or I would just pick them up after they got started on their work for the day, and it seemed to run a lot smoother. So, restroom and food and drinks. I started this probably about 5 or 6 years ago, where students had to ask me to go to the restroom prior to the tardy bell. So they would have to come in and say, Mrs. Shipley, I have to go to the restroom. And I'd say, okay, you can go. If it was the tardy bell already rang, then they were out of luck. They could take a tardy if they really, really had to go. But for the most part, it really cut down on all of the wanting to go to bathrooms, wanting to get out of class. I made a big deal about it at the beginning of the year. Is I only had 42 minutes with them, so I needed them to be in class at all time. I wanted them in class because they needed to learn all this stuff, and if they were outside of my class, then I couldn't teach them. And so that's kind of how I went about that. They could also bring bottled water, but no food and water, because no food or other drinks, because that got to where, first off, it was a policy in our school district that they weren't to have food in class, but not all teachers followed that. But I made sure I did, because it seemed like if somebody was chewing on chips, that distracted everybody around them. And not only that, the kid that didn't like the lunch, so he didn't eat lunch that day, was begging for, a few chips and everything. So it just kind of seems like just not having any of it, other than when you're doing a food lab, but not having any of it just seemed to help a whole lot. What about when they finish jobs early? When they finish their assignment early, or they finish their group project, or they're just done, but everybody else is still going? What kind of routines do you have for them? What do you have set in place? And on my website, I actually have a blog post about this, about different things that you could do to give them jobs, because you want kids to stay busy. You don't want them just sitting there. It may be something fun to do. It may be extra work. A lot of times, if I had something left over, or if kids got done and I had something like I needed clothes folded, or the laundry folded, or I needed the dishwasher cleaned out, the students knew that the chores around my classroom was something that they were going to have to do. And so it kind of, I think that personally, I think that helps bring ownership into the class. That helps them feel like this is part of their work. Their home was my classroom. Because they did have to do those chores. They did have to take part in keeping it clean. Consequences. Do your students know what happens if they don't follow the consequences? And not, there's several times when I felt like I could not go to the administrator. I could not send the kids to the administration. And so I had to figure out how to deal with these kids on my own, and it seemed to work out okay. A lot of the times, I didn't let them give me any gruff. It was get going, let's do it. And if not, I was taking them out into the hallway and I'm talking to them. And saying, I need you to do this, because, you're ruining it for everybody else, but not only that, you're ruining it for yourself, and we would be doing such much, more fun things and everything. So, I even tried, I got it off of Teachers Pay Teachers one time, a worksheet that they had to write, and it was a letter to me, explaining how bad they were, but I made them copy it as a punishment, and they would copy it, saying that I am ruining my education and the education of others by being disruptive, and here's the steps that I could take to get better, and blah 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 blah. But anyways, I'm kind of going off. Sorry. Also, and the last one I'll talk about, because you could go on and on and on, but the last thing I want to talk about is expected behavior, especially in groups. What are your group, what expectations do you have for your groups? And the first time you do group work, I do think it's a good idea to go and talk to your whole group about your expectations. Here's what I expect you to be done. Here's what I expect you to do. Here's how I expect you to divide up the work, and so on. And it seems like it kind of helps. They know what's exactly expected of them, and it just seems like it goes just a little bit smoother. That way, they're not relying on all the quote unquote smart kids to do all the work, because I had expectations of them, and I would make them write down exactly what they did. What part of the assignment did they do? Not so much grading everybody else, but I want to know what they did, and even what percentage of of the assignment did they feel that they did? So, anywho, I think that is all I have for you today. But I did want to make sure that you did get a chance to download the 7 Secrets of Family Consumer Science, being an amazing family consumer science teacher, which I'm sure you guys all are, but this is just to help take it up to the next level. There's so much, as teachers, I love that we can collaborate and, work together to try to, bring everybody up, on our own, give tips and tricks and everything else. So, before I forget, I'm going to post, I forgot to grab the, my tip for you on, that I have for every Thursday. I forgot to grab it, dang it. But, I am going to post that here in just a little bit on my Facebook page, and basically it's just cards that, like would you rather, or get you a conversation started. And one thing that I would do in my class with it, there's cards, I'll get the link and put it on Facebook, but whenever there was just a little bit of time, so maybe there was like 3 minutes left, instead of letting kids sit there for 3 minutes, get that relationship working, get those, that bond going on. And so I would just pull out these cards and I'm like, all right, would you rather do this or this, and then I just call on people, why, or if there's even, if they're rambunctious and they're wanting to get out of their seats, go to this side of the wall if you'd rather do this, go to that side of the wall if you'd rather do that, but it was a good way to laugh. It was a good way to get to know your students and just kind of have fun with them with the last couple minutes that you had in class. So I will post that link and get that link to you guys so you guys can use that if you want to. So, all right, have a great Thursday, or Friday Eve. So it's almost the weekend. Have a good rest of your week, guys. We'll see you later.